I have a problem.
Just one?
I have chronic gas. Not that kind of gas.
Oh.
I have GAS, which stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome.
Which means that you buy everything you see.
So yeah, I am exactly the kind of person, in contrast to Ava, who doesn't buy anything until she is 100% sure that she needs it and will use it all the time. I see some stupid gadget, particularly when it comes to like cooking gadgets, and I buy it and I use it maybe once, and then it ends up in the gadget graveyard in our garage, and it never sees the light of day again. Various air fryers, sous vides, and juicers, and stupid things that just serve one little purpose that I never ever need.
To just collect dust.
That's why we've always been really hesitant to make a video like this, even though a lot of people have asked for it. We get messages all the time, people asking for us to do a video talking about kitchen gear and tools and pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. But we never really wanted to do it because those kinds of videos, in our opinion, tend to feed on people like me. They're pretty predatory, like, you need this and this will make you a better cook. And then stupid people like me buy them and end up with a bunch of junk. So we didn't want to do that, but we did realize, thinking about it recently, that there are some things that people tend to write to us a lot, ask us about, and maybe we can provide some useful information. We're gonna talk about some kitchen tools that maybe are not very common, but are very useful and good to know about. Some of them are things that we use almost behind the scenes, and so you wouldn't even see us using them, but they're very useful. Other things that have saved us a lot of money over the years and might save you some money, which is important. Also some things that a lot of people maybe want or are looking for, but it's difficult to find them if you don't know where to look. So anyway, we're gonna cover things that we, or mostly Ava, uses a lot in the kitchen.
We use, I don't want to say every day, but mostly every day.
I will put affiliate links down below, but except in a few cases where we have a specific recommendation, nothing is brand loyal or anything. If you do see something that you want though, and you use the affiliate links, we make like a few pennies. So, without further ado, I think we'll start with the kitchen tool that is the second most asked about kitchen implement that we own.
But for us Italians, it's not really a big secret because in every Italian home there is something like that.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people ask us about these, because at least in America, you almost never see these. It's like a big pair of tweezers. I don't think I've seen a single Italian kitchen that doesn't have these, but I've never seen them in America. And so people write to us all the time. They see you using them in videos and they go, what are those? Where do I get those? What do you use them for?
Those are perfect when you need to cook the pasta. Think that you are putting the spaghetti in a pot and you need to stir. With this, it's very easy to stir. You can also grab one spaghetti to try it, to see if it's cooked, if it's properly salt. Another thing that they are very useful is when you need to plate. Obviously, not the rigatoni because it will take forever.
They're like spaghetti.
But like spaghetti, bucatini, linguine, all the long pasta, they are very, very useful.
You stick this in a big mound of spaghetti, twist it on like you would with a fork, you know, and then onto a ladle, and then you slide it off and it makes the perfect little serving of spaghetti.
I can't see myself in a kitchen without those.
I mean, they're basically just tongs, but for much more delicate work.
I use this also, for example, when I need to roast my vegetables, like a slice of eggplant. I take with this and I flip.
Yeah, if you have something very, very thin, these are much easier to work with than, again, a big pair of tongs.
That is good for a big chunk of meat, but not for a slice of eggplants.
So these are they're really just called kitchen tweezers. They're readily available on Amazon and stuff. But yeah, super useful tool.
The next one is a tool that I personally requested because I hate to waste food. So I request this amazing machine.
Yeah, we're actually in electronic gadget land. This is one that is quite the exception. This is a vacuum sealer. I'm sure you're all familiar with them and what they do, but I don't think a lot of people have them, but it is, I can't imagine going back to life without one of these.
This is very useful to store food that we are not going to use, and you know that we are not going to use for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Think, for example, all the cheese that usually I bring back from Italy. I use this machine to preserve, save.
Yeah, you vacuum seal it, it lasts
forever.
Basically forever. Things like olives, salami, stuff that maybe if we have guests over, we put out, and then you have leftovers, you vacuum seal it, lasts forever. Really everything.
Like prosciutto.
Yeah.
For example, if you have a slice of prosciutto and you are not going to eat this for a long time, put in a bag, vacuum seal, and it will be okay for weeks and weeks and weeks. So what I found about this is that actually save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And help you to not waste food, because it's a very bad thing to do.
I think this one only cost us like $50. It's not a terribly expensive appliance, and it has definitely saved us. One thing I have learned being in lots of Italian kitchens is that Italians tend to go for one kind of pan for making pasta. When I say make pasta, I don't mean like boiling the pasta. I mean like making the sauce and mixing the pasta with the sauce. Everyone tends to use the same type of pan, which is something like this. It's not a heavy pan. It's a very thin, lightweight pan, which makes sense when you think about it, because when you, I think, are cooking pasta in a pan, you want to be able to change the temperature pretty quickly. Like maybe you have a sauce and it's done and you just let it chill out, but then you put the pasta in and you just want to quickly get it up to a high temperature. So it's thin, it's lightweight, and it has a non-stick sort of ceramic finish. It's not like true non-stick. You wouldn't like roast a piece of chicken in here and expect it to not stick, but it's the perfect level of non-stick for pasta. You don't see too many of these kinds of pans in the US here. The one brand that we find is Bialetti, and they're the company that make the famous mocha pots, the Italian coffee pots. So these are, we even see these in our local grocery store.
And I was so impressed when I found this that I said, okay, I need two.
Yeah, but they're also readily available online. Really good pans for pasta, and I think not a lot of people have something quite like this. Everyone is obviously familiar with rolling pins, what they're for. Pretty much everyone has one. This is an old rolling pin that I've had since before I met you. However, depending on what you like to cook, there can be some pretty significant limitations to a rolling pin like this.
This kind of rolling pin is perfect to make pie crust, puff pastry, something like that. You can roll easily, but when it comes to, for example, pasta or something that is also wider, the sheet of
dough
yes, that you are working with is bigger than the size of this. This becomes completely unuseful because you can't give the same thickness to all the...
When you start rolling that on a larger sheet of dough, you just get weird creases and lines and stuff with that.
So in that case, what you need is something like that. This is much longer. This has all the same, how do you say, the diameter. And this is what you can use to make, for example, pasta for, I don't know, let's say 5, 6 people, because you have the space.
Also, just in general, another difference between these is that if you're working with a firmer dough, like pasta dough, you really need to be able to like really work this in and use a lot of pressure, and this is much harder because, you know, it just sort of rolls and yeah.
And I need to say that this was one, if not the best Christmas gift that my husband gave to me now maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, early on you were complaining about using this and how it was hard to make pasta and stuff with this, and you wanted a mattarello, which is what you call an Italian style rolling pin like this. And so I had to go on the hunt to find one of these, which if you are, you know, someone who's good at woodworking and very simple woodworking, you could obviously easily make one of these yourself out of some kind of hardwood. I am not good at woodworking, so I needed to go buy one. And what I found was, obviously you can't just go into any cooking store and get one of these, but what I found, if you're looking to buy one, is a ton of them on Etsy. Etsy is that site where sort of independent craftspeople can sell things that they make. And if you search mattarello, or sometimes even just like Italian rolling pin, you will find a bunch of these in all different sizes. So if you're looking for one of those, check out Etsy. Speaking of excellent Christmas gifts, now is probably a good time to talk about our sponsor, who is maybe one of the coolest Christmas gifts that
we received.
And that
We're going to
English that we are going to give to other people. How are you correcting me on English right now? Today's sponsor is Aura. A few years ago, my mom, as a Christmas gift, gave to us one of Aura's digital picture frames. It's a digital screen that looks like a picture, looks like a photo frame, and what's very cool about it is how good it looks. When you walk by, you don't think like, oh, that's a TV screen or something. It just looks like a photo. But you can put all of your digital photos on it. It's very easy to do so from the app. There's unlimited storage on the frame, so you can actually keep literally all of your photos on it.
We have at least 1,000.
Yeah, you can set it up in almost any way you want. We have ours on sort of a slideshow. Without even opening the box, you can preload a bunch of photos onto a frame that you want to give as a gift, and then you can give it to someone special, maybe with family photos or something on it. And that's precisely what we are going to do with a new Aura frame we just got for Mama Rosa. She's visiting us now here in Arizona, and as soon as she walked into our house, she saw that frame and she saw one of the pictures move and go to the next one in the slideshow, and she just stopped there. She was just like, how is this possible? And we were flicking through all the photos. She wanted to see all of them.
All of them.
Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. Use promo code PASTA at checkout and you will get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. Terms and conditions apply. A big thank you to Aura Frames for sponsoring today's video. We are back in electronic gadget land with this. This is a relatively new discovery.
And I love it so much.
Yes. So we use, or Ava uses, a lot of herbs, particularly basil.
I need basil, more or less on
almost daily basis.
See, so I went to the store always and to buy basil, but keeping the basil at home, at least here in Arizona, is impossible. So today...
It's not impossible. It's impossible for you and me because I know that many of you are like really good gardeners and really good at growing potted plants and stuff like that. And we tried for a long time to go to the store and get those. You get the ones that like, you know, that's a real growing basil and you keep it yourself. And we tried to grow them in pots, but Ava and I have the blackest of thumbs and we just always kill it. It never works out.
And then a friend of ours told us about this, for me, magic thing. I didn't kill any of the plants that I was growing here.
Yeah, this is a little sort of tabletop hydroponic grower. There's nothing in it right now because I got some new Calabrian pepper seeds I want to try, and so I'm gonna plant a new batch. But it's super cool. You have little sort of dirt pods that go in here, and you plant your seeds, and you basically just keep this full of water, and every now and then you add some more of this little plant food stuff into the water to give the plants nutrients. And then this here is like an LED light panel that gives the plants full spectrum sunlight essentially, but it all works on a timer, so you don't need to worry anything about it. It is foolproof, it takes care of everything, and within literally a week or two, we just had a jungle of herbs.
Basil, parsley, thyme, mint, sage. We grow here everything that I need, I use, but I wasn't never able to grow until this.
And it saved us a ton of money because it was like $50 on Amazon. There are a bunch of different kinds. I'll put this one down below just because it's what we got, but there's a ton of different kinds you can look at. But it saved us so much money because since we could never get our basil to grow, every time we needed basil, we would go to the grocery store and get one of those little packets of basil, which cost like $5 each. And you can only really, in a couple of days, it's gone bad. So we were just spending so much on basil, it was insane.
Also, another good thing about this is that if you don't have a garden or live in a small apartment, for example, with this you can have fresh organic herbs because you can do this just in your room.
So if you're like us and you're not good at growing things or keeping things alive, definitely recommend these hydroponic growers. For sure, most of you are familiar with these. This is a vegetable mill, very useful for grinding tomatoes, for making the best mashed potatoes of your life. You will definitely want one of these. It is much better than any potato masher. But this is one of the rare cases where we're here to make a specific sort of brand recommendation because we have gone through so many of these and have learned from much trial and error that they are not all made the same. And I think this is the first one that we got together, and most of the ones that you'll find are like this, and they are really terrible. Yeah.
They are bad because if you need to do like mashed potatoes for a crowd for Thanksgiving, you will need at least 3 or 4 of these because they break so easily that you can imagine.
It's really uncomfortable to hold this over a pot or something, and more importantly, we find on a lot of these that this bracket thing that holds this in slips out all the time as you're using it, and it's very frustrating. You're grinding, and it just it pops out. You have to put it back in, it pops out. So that's a big problem we found with those. But then we found this one. This is OXO Good Grips, I think it's called, vegetable mill, and this is the final one. This is the one.
Okay, compared to this, this is heavier than this.
It's much more solid.
Having those
these little fold out legs, these feet, yeah.
So you can actually place this on a pot without keeping in your hands and just easily mash everything that you need to mash.
And more importantly, in my opinion, the bracket thing on here actually has a little sort of latch and it locks in there, so it won't just pop out as you're grinding stuff. So definitely recommend the OXO Good Grips vegetable mill. Next, we have a little tool that I think is indispensable if you work with dough, at least relatively often, especially very sticky doughs like pizza dough. If you make pizza regularly, highly recommend keeping a bench scraper around.
These are, how do you say indispensable?
Indispensable, as I just said.
They are indispensable when you need to make a pizza dough that is very, very hydrated.
Hydrated, a high hydration dough.
Yes, because forget to work on that kind of dough just with your hands. But with this, it's actually pretty easy to fold the dough and give to the dough the strength that it needs to have a good result. This is amazing also if you are so crazy that you want to make a panettone, because also the panettone dough is a very sticky dough. Not mention the fact when you make the gnocchi, because you take this and you cut the gnocchi.
Yeah, it's good for cutting dough too.
When you want to make the tagliatelle, you make the dough and you cut the tagliatelle. It's amazing also actually to clean your surface, because when you work with the dough, what is...
Yeah, like when the dough kind of sticks a little bit to the cutting board and you're left with that residue, you just scrape it right off. I think that if all you need something like this for is cutting dough, it's not worth it because you can just use a knife. But yeah, if you're working with a sticky dough, it gets so frustrating because often like with a pizza dough, you need to kind of fold the dough and trying to get it off the cutting board that it's already sticking to and then folding it and then it gets stuck on your hands. It's really frustrating, really difficult to work with. But with this, you just slide it under, it simultaneously scrapes it off the cutting board and then you just use this to fold it over. Definitely a good tool. If you are the kind of person who likes to bake, likes to work with doughs. All right, this is one where probably a lot of you watching already have this kitchen tool, but maybe never thought to use it quite in this way. This is one of those little electric kettles. It just plops onto this base here, right? And in just a minute or two, you can have boiling water. Now, obviously, you know, this is useful for tea and pour over coffee and stuff like that. But one thing that Eva does all the time that I never even really thought about before learning anything about cooking was how useful it is to have this next to your stove top when you are cooking all kinds of things.
Let's say that you are cooking beans. It's obvious that they take a long time to cook, and during this time the water that you pour in the pot will evaporate, so you need to add more water, but you can't add the fresh water, the cold water. With something like that, you have always boiling water very close to you that you can take and just pour like I did now.
I did empty it, but there's maybe a little bit in there. Sorry.
So you can pour.
Luckily, it wasn't boiling.
Not empty, luckily. You need some hot water, you can use this. So every time.
Tomato sauce or a ragu, there are many instances where it thickens too much and you want to keep it cooking, so you need to add a little bit of water. And if you add cold or room temperature water,
it will lower the temperature and it's a problem with the cooking process. Yeah. While if it's boiling, you know that you will keep the temperature more or less always the same.
It's much more convenient than having like a little pot of water that you keep warm while you're cooking. You just have this next to you, and with just the push of a button, in basically a few seconds, you can have water that's warm enough that you can add it into something. Yeah, I imagine a lot of you guys probably have this already, but if you don't, even if you're not a tea drinker, they can come quite useful. Why can't I talk today?
Useful, Arby.
They can come in useful. Last but certainly not least is the thing that people ask us about the most. At least once a week, I get an email or a message asking where we get terracotta cookware.
So I come from the south of Italy, where we have most of our pot are terracotta pot. How we use the terracotta pot? We use the terracotta pot for everything. And for everything, I mean everything, maybe except boiling the pasta water. We use those for making the ragu, making stew, making beans, making, I don't know, fish soup, everything cooked in terracotta pot it tastes better. No matter what people will say around the world, this is true, it's proven. My mom, when she came here and she saw me cooking the ragu in a Dutch oven, she was yelling at me because the Dutch oven doesn't give the same result of a terracotta pot.
Terracotta is fantastic, and so it's no surprise that people see us cooking with it a lot and they write to us asking where they can get it, and that's because it's really hard to find in the US, and if you do find it, it's really expensive, which was confusing to us for a while because, for instance, 10 minutes from Eva's town in Calabria is a town called Girocarne, and they make terracotta pots, and they are amazing and they're beautiful and they are dirt cheap. It's like you go to Girocarne to buy pots and plates and stuff and you feel like you're going to like the Dollar Tree or something. They're so cheap. I seriously thought at one point, I'm like, we're in the wrong business. We should just be importing terracotta into the US. And then what we learned is that the reason it's so expensive in America is because the regulations and requirements for lead testing, like heavy metal testing in clay cookware, I think it's one of those requirements in the state of California things. It's so stringent that it's very cost prohibitive, even though it's very rare that actually terracotta has any problems with it or lead or anything in it. But the cost of going through all of the testing and certification and stuff is so prohibitively expensive that it's not worth it for importers to even bother with. So, where do we get ours? Well, some we bring back from Italy. Some we live very close to the Mexican border, and so sometimes we go there and get terracotta pots. You do need to be more careful with that because you need to make sure that you find someone who's somewhat reputable and doesn't put like weird glazes on it that are not good for cooking. So you do need to be a little bit careful about it. I wish that I had a more helpful answer. People write us all the time, they're like, where do you get your terracotta? I don't have a great source. We don't have like just go check out this. If anyone out there knows of a good source, please let us know in the comments below, because we would love to be able to give people a more concrete answer than just like, well, go to Italy. The maybe one thing that we can point someone in the direction of is this kind of clay pot. This is, I think it's Chinese. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, if that's not Chinese. But it's a kind of pot that you'll find often in Asian markets. And I have seen these in Asian markets in Maine, in Asian markets in Los Angeles. I've seen them all across the country. So if you happen to live somewhere where they have one of those big Asian markets that sells cookware and stuff too, you will likely see this same exact pot. There must be a name for it. If anyone knows what the name of this pot is, I'd love to know.
It's rice cooking.
It's for cooking rice?
Si.
Really? I didn't know that. Well, it's great for ragu. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope that some of this might have been useful. I hope we didn't trigger anyone else's gas.
Don't say like that because, by the way, those tools, they are all useful. They wouldn't transform you in a better cook, but for sure will make your life easier.
What will definitely make you a better cook, and this guys, you need. This is gas time, okay?
This I agree.
Is the Italian Family Kitchen, our cookbook. If you're looking for a great gift for someone who likes to cook, check it out.
There you can find all information on tools, on how to use those tools, what you really need, all the ingredients that you need, amazing and wonderful Italian recipes.
Oh look, you can see this is one of those big terracotta pots and the plates from Girocarne.
And by the way, those are Mama Rosa's meatballs.
If you have any good kitchen gadget, tool, implement, utensil tips.
Don't tell to us, otherwise he will buy it. Don't tell to us.
Guys, tell me which new air fryer I should get down below.
Don't tell to him, please.
Before we go, a quick shout out to a pasta grammarian who made some very impressive cornetti.
They did a great job. When I saw the photo, I said, wow, those look better than mine.
They are amazing. Well done. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.